Oh,
There you go. See, always, always. She's always with the
my mic.
dancing and the moving. What are we doing right now, ladies and gentlemen? What are we doing?
It settles my nerves.
It settles your nerves. Oh, my phone is doing the most. So, for all of you that are out there who are joining us this evening, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to
Um,
day 4.
I know day 4. We are. This is the Sheikh Khalil. If you're watching us on the Sheikh Khalil YouTube channel, if you're watching us on Facebook, Khalil Warrior. If you're watching us there, if you're watching us on the Healing Journey or Linnell Heath, we welcome you. We welcome you all to the Sheikh Khalil.
Welcome.
And we'll welcome you into this journey that we're taking 120 days of intention. That's right, ladies. I'm talking about 120 days of being intentional in every aspect of your life. I don't know if you
Yes,
think you can do it. I don't know if you know that we're aiming to do it, but this is our goal
I'll
is
go.
to make every day a point where we are being intentional in some aspect of our life. And as we're on this journey, we hope that you know, we'll welcome you
Come
in.
along with us.
Come with us. Thank you. I can't even talk. We're welcoming you into this space and onto our journey with us. And we hope that you're able to take a little something away from it. Hopefully, it'll be something that'll help you in your intentions or the areas in your life in which you want to see change. Maybe it's something you can walk away with and it makes it a little better for you. I don't know.
Absolutely.
That's the hope, right? So
Yep.
if you're new to the Nashe Kyle channel, welcome and thank you for coming. A little bit about us: we are women of valor. And I love that,
We are.
and it's derived from Proverbs 31 that Eshet Kayil, that virtuous woman or the woman of valor who can find her. Well, I always like to say, we here.
We here. Here
There's
we
women
is.
of valor in the house,
Yes.
and and so to let you know that that's our mission for Nashe Kyle is to invite people into journeys with us as we're in our process of change as women. Our focus is our sisters, our women of
Yep.
color, but it's for everybody. I think our brothers
Absolutely.
can get something from it. Other people can get something from it. Hey, this is what we're
So
here for.
definitely share, share, share. Invite friends, family.
Please.
We want to hear from you. If you have comments, like, subscribe, obviously. But also, if you're watching us live and you're joining, please comment. We definitely would appreciate the feedback, the encouraging words, and we also want to be a support and encouragement to anyone watching. So definitely, if there's something you are aiming to be intentional about and you want to or need some additional support, maybe some resources and just some encouragement on your journey, let us know. We are here, we are on our journey, and we are definitely looking to support other women as they travel this journey as well.
Absolutely. And so, to give a little introduction, my name is Tamara Metia, aka Tam. And this is my lovely sister. Yes, ladies, my lovely sister. Boop.
The dancer.
AKA
No,
Must Willie. What?
I'm sorry, I'm still sick. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. We are still in. We are
We're
still
still in the
in.
COVID edition.
I know, right? I keep saying it, but it's like I refuse. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna give COVID I'm not gonna give COVID the
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 power,
the
because
power.
they be taking it.
Oh my goodness.
It
Because
be,
it
it
says
be bullying.
it is bullying. It's taking my strength, child.
COVID is working us this
Boy,
weekend,
I'm
honey.
all over the place and for real, for real. But it's all good. It's all gravy. So with that, we are boop, Tam's, and we are inviting you, of course, into 120 days of intention. Today we are on our day 4, ladies. Day
Day
4.
4.
Here we go.
Here we go. Here we go.
Day
Day
4.
4.
120 days of intention. Today's topic: stop playing small. How fear can impact your purpose. This is personal, y'all.
Mm. Well, that's what this journey is, right? We're inviting them into our journey, into our world, into our 120 days of intention. So, like we said, it's gonna get deep. It's gonna get personal. It's gonna be real,
It
and we're gonna
is
be here.
definitely going to be real. One thing I will say is that this topic is very near and very dear to the kid.
Cool. And I'm
It's,
sure to a lot of people out there watching, right? Like fear is debilitating. It
it
can
is.
stop a show, honey, if you're
I
not in
mean,
control.
and you don't think of it
That
that way.
thing will
That's the
take you
sad part.
down.
It will. It will. And the sad part is I don't think we look at it as fear, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it resonates
Mhm.
a lot of time as fear.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't think it's something just kind of keeping in line, right? Like when you talk about being intentional, I don't think we intentionally think about, are we afraid of getting on this journey? I think, we think about, oh, this, some things may be overwhelming or whatever, but I don't think, do we actually be like, oh my God, this is scary for me. Like, this is something I've never done, you know, and really label it, right, as the fear. And so then when you don't do that, how are we addressing it, right? And we'll get into all of that tonight. But definitely, I think we don't think about it as fear. So, you know, we're going to address all aspects so that we are successful in everything that we do.
Yeah, and I think, well, I think that ideally when I think about this topic in general, right? Why it's like so personal is because I'm a victim of it, or have been in the
Been
past.
a victim
I've
of
been
it. Yeah.
right. I've grown in my level of intention, right?
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
one of the things that over this past year, I will say that I've kind of worked on personally.
Hmm.
That's been a personal journey for me. Um, and so with that, let me I'm gonna share something. I've shared this with people that I know. Um, let me let me do this. Um, I've shared this with people that I know.
Hmm.
I'm gonna try to share it with you all tonight. I'm gonna stop.
It's on the screen.
Yep, it is on the screen.
Yep.
So excuse me. And this is a saying or a quote. It's actually from a book that is entitled A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. And it goes, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child
Amen.
of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone.
Everyone.
As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So, again, that is from the book entitled A Return to Love by Mary Ann Williamson. And it is something that I have used um, over this last year to really help me on this journey of not playing small, aka
Yeah.
not allowing my fear to impact my purpose in life. Um, I don't know. Do you have something to say before I get into that?
Yeah, I think I appreciate that. I think those words are very powerful and I think you're correct, right? Like how do you not let the fear impact your purpose though, right? Because I think fear in a very broad sense is healthy, it can be healthy, right? Because we'll get into defining fear and we all know you're such a lover of words and understanding what words mean. But when we get into the definition, you know, um one of the things that stands out for me is that fear also requires you to take a pause,
Mm,
right? So, because if you're afraid of something, if you're afraid to move forward, if you're afraid to go behind the door, if you're afraid to, go down that street or whatever, it's going to cause you to have a pause moment. And so, sometime in our pause moment, we can get a little clarity. So I think there's a healthy dose of fear that can be present, especially when we start to talk about being intentional, making changes in our lives, life changes at that, and thinking about our growth and development. So I think that it's okay to have a healthy dose of fear. What we want to do is make sure that people are not letting that fear stagnate them, right? Like and hold us back, and keeping it in perspective. So yes, I think we not playing small, we big, we out here, we're being seen, we're showing up to rooms, tables, boardrooms, conference rooms, arenas. Like I said, next year y'all may have to pay for this. So get
Okay.
it while it's free,
Great.
because we gonna speak big, we gonna manifest big things.
Yes.
So, and there's fear in living what you speak and trying to manifest that. But again, that fear gives
Mhm.
you a moment to pause and also give you a moment to have perspective.
Right, right. So then there is fear or a level of cautiousness, right? When we talk about
Mm,
emotions, right? When we get anxieties or, those things start to pop up. And this goes back to our conversation that we had, the last couple of days about like how our thoughts and our feelings kind of
mm-hmm.
coincide, right?
Yep.
And it's one thing to have that pause, that healthy fear, right?
Fear. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That emotion is there for caution, to
Yep.
take pause, to take stock, think, and let's assess, right? And fear is that debilitating fear. And there are fears that will stop us from being great,
Yes.
fears that will stop us from our purpose in life. You
Mm-hmm.
will just completely be on pause. And excuse me, I've found myself at different points in my life in that space.
Yeah.
And over this last year, I've really done like work. So it's
Mm-hmm.
funny because we had a conversation earlier and it was like, well, it's not like we're fear. My sister said, it's not like we're fear experts. And my
Right.
response to that was, hold on. The only thing that makes you an expert in something is experience.
Then if that's
And
the
if that's
case,
the case,
we are
we are
experts.
experts.
Probably more expertise in that than most
Okay.
things, then, right?
Okay.
For
Because that's
sure.
you know what I mean? And I had to look at it like that. Who better? Because
Mm-hmm.
um I've gone through, and not to say like, yes, I have we have an experience as far as the work that we do and the things that we study and we research even for our professions. But then we also have this lived experience too.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
the lived experience sometimes resonates so much more
Yes.
than what you
Then
were
like formal
reading in the book.
training and
Right.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And again, right, when you start to evaluate yourself and you start to be
Mm-hmm.
in the space of wanting change, the space of
Mm-hmm.
intention, it leads you to that, that honesty, being real with you. And I've been
Yeah.
in that space of being real and having to realize, like, yo, I do that a lot.
Yeah.
I
And
make
and
a
and
lot.
tapping into that honesty, right, is like, am I willing to face this fear?
Mm, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like, is this a fear that I'm even willing to face, right? Like, I don't know. Like, it's
Yeah.
one thing to like kind of be like, well, I'm scared or I'm nervous, or I'm anxious. But then once you identify that that emotion is even present, you have two options:
Mm,
face it head on
mm-hmm.
or retreat.
Mm,
So with that perspective, then you determine if it's a healthy dose of fear or if it's a debilitating dose of fear,
fight or flight.
which again brings back to being intentional.
Being
Are
intentional.
you going to speak positive? Are you going to be intentional? Are you going to say, no, I'm going to take this challenge? I'm going to go through this process, even though I'm afraid, even though I don't know what side I'm going to come out on. But I think it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's worth it, right? We talked about that yesterday when we talked about setting goals, right? When we talked about relevance, is this worthwhile? So I think we look at fear in the same way, right? Like, is this a fear or a challenge that I'm willing to confront and embrace?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I going to just let it consume and basically take over me?
So let's talk about that. Since we're talking about we're in the midst of fear, let's go into defining what fear is. See?
Sure. So good old Webster dictionary that we all know and love. Are we
Yeah,
scrolling that, or is it scrolling, or is it, or you want me? Oh, I got you. I got
yeah,
you. I
yeah,
got you.
yeah.
So Webster defines fear as an unpleasant emotion. So already, right? Boom, hit the nail on the head. It's an emotion, it's a feeling. It's an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous. What does that mean?
Mm.
That someone or something is dangerous. So, how do we relate that to the fear of change,
Mm.
right? What is the danger in change? What are our emotions telling us about if we change? What are we acknowledging about ourselves once we decide there needs to be change?
Hmm. So that led me to the question that I had, and I'll just jump to that one, which is what are the usual fears that we are unwilling to risk? So there are there are certain things that in our life, right? So we talk about what could we possibly perceive as dangerous,
Right.
right? Or there's also a part that there comes with an unwillingness for something,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so what's there is the usual, the fears of failing,
Yes.
fears of rejection,
Yes.
fears of humiliation,
Mhm.
fears of shame, and fears of being wrong.
Right. And I want to throw one
Right.
that I think when you talk about being intentional and being on this journey in a moment of transparency, the fear of success.
Mm,
Because with the fear of success comes the fear of expectation. So if I am good at it, if I succeed at it, and I do well, then people are going to expect that from me.
mm,
Do I
that's true.
have what it takes to be consistently good, to be consistently successful? Right? So it's easier to be mediocre or to just not even try. This way, when people see you, it's just like, oh, well, she just do her thing, but it's not like there's no expectation. So you don't have to fear letting anyone down, yourself or anyone else.
Mm, I can see that. Uh, I too have been victim of that.
Yeah.
Fear of success. You don't think that's what you're doing, and I'm gonna go back to that because
Hmm.
you don't think that that's what you're doing, but
Right.
in essence, uh, it is.
Hmm. Take
Uh,
this. Take our journey here. Right. We promote. Okay, we're going live every night, 120 days of
mhm,
intention. But at the end of the day, I know for me, like, and I basically say to you every, right before we go live, like my stomach go upside down, like my nerves is bad because now we've set a bar,
right.
right? So
Yeah.
the first bar gets set because yes, we've been consistent and we've been showing up every day. But now, as the people keep coming and they keep watching, and just even with ourselves, there's an expectation that we are elevating. Can we sustain this for 120 days? What happens if
Mm,
we can't make it one day? Like this, like all these things start to come and flood your brain, and then your emotion says, you know what, this was a big undertaking. Like, whoa, I think I took on too much, and now you've let fear like get you off your mark.
but it's also like what we choose, like that mindset when we came into it anyway. Like
Mm-hmm.
earlier today, um, and I don't know if you saw it, probably didn't, Sissy, but earlier today when I did the Shabbat edition, I talked about preparation, right? And
Mm.
even though I was talking about in a spiritual sense of preparation and making space for even a creator to come into a situation, you also have to make preparation for change
Yes.
and changing your thought process, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times when we enter into certain things, right, we don't always think about the prep time, what it takes
No.
to prepare ourselves. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? We don't think about stuff like that.
Right.
And and I think even when it comes to something as with fear, right? Or playing small, because tonight we're talking about
Mm.
playing small, but we're also talking about in that the association that comes with that is fear.
Yep.
And so in preparation, you have to realize that you're actually operating in fear.
Mm-hmm.
I think somebody wrote in a one of our Facebook users said it's a hard thing to do, but sometimes you must do. And I guess as far as I'm thinking on the topic of fear, um,
Right.
kind of work like overcoming. I think what she's talking about is overcoming our fear. But the only
Mm-hmm.
thing we should fear is the creator. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And that was the point I believe that she's trying to make. Um, but and if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I feel like, yeah, you got to get to a point though to have
Mm-hmm.
that level of understanding.
Right.
And even for me, and us being in a state of transparency, I feel like, and she said yes, told her, oh, thank you. Excuse me. She's, in a state of transparency. I had to get to that point to even
Yeah.
understand that me playing small was me being fearful of
Fearful.
my
Right.
own.
It's safe.
It
It's
is
safe.
safe. It is safe. Playing small is the very safe way to be because you tell yourself, and this to go back to our self talk, right? Self,
Mm-hmm.
what we tell ourselves. Um, in us doing that, we think we're helping the next person,
Person.
right? Which kind of goes to the quote that I did. Like, it doesn't serve anybody for you to
Right.
be small. You know what I'm saying? Because you think that you're doing it and I'm allowing other people to shine. I'm giving them their flowers. You got that. I'm giving. You can still be the best you,
That's you.
still uplift the next person or enlighten the next person.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to shrink yourself because you're afraid that your success will isolate
Isolate
you.
you. Right. Or in some kind of way minimize their success. Right. And
Right.
that's not, and so that's again what we're trying to do here with our content is to show like there is space for all of us. There's room for all of us, and as a community, as women of color, as women, right, like we can show up in various spaces, and support one another. And if I'm using my gifts and my talents to my fullest potential, that does in no way negate how you use your gifts and your talents, right? But the idea would be that, and I think what we're living proof of is that, like, if I'm using my gifts and my talents to the fullest potential, and you're using your gifts and your talents to your fullest potential, and we're doing that collectively, then we elevate the community, right? We elevate the whole collective.
So where do we
And now
get into,
everybody's functioning at their fullest potential. And well, we all know once some women get together and elevate, we
baby?
are,
So my
it's
whole thing
on.
is, where do we get, right? That where does that self-talk come from? And
Hmm.
I know me personally, I had to examine that. I had to
Mm.
examine where this all of a sudden. So, because if you know me, first of all, to know me, so love me. Okay.
Yes, 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 I agree.
Say,
I love you, Poots.
thank you, love. I love you too. What I realized is that I had to look at where the possibility of it coming from. And one thing
Hmm.
I came to an understanding of, and this in no means, and I have to say this to my other siblings, I love them.
You
This
don't
is
want to get no text messages
no, I ain't getting
tonight.
no text message talking about what? Let's talk about it.
Girl, I ain't here. Go live on this. No.
Right. But I had to look at how even I grew up. So I'm
Oh,
saying this,
definitely.
and I'm saying this to say when you're in a space of goal setting, when you're in a space of intention, and what we're talking about today is not playing small.
Hmm.
Sometimes you have to understand where some of these behaviors are coming from.
Yeah.
Where do they stem from? For me personally, in a space of transparency, I realize it stemmed from how my birth order. I'm the baby. I'm the baby of the group.
Mm.
I come from a family, Everybody, everybody has very big personalities in one
Personalities,
way
yeah.
or another. And although probably the other people that once you get to know me, you'll see my personality. Other than that, I'm quiet. I
Right.
really stay to myself. I do allow other people to be them, but
Mm-hmm.
that's because I've always been in a space to do that.
Right.
You know, two elders siblings that I have, are much older, and so they came more in like a almost parenting type
Right.
of position, and because of their birth order, and because of that, there's this hierarchy
Hierarchy that you're always playing off of, for
and
sure.
playing off of. So when they're in
Mm.
a room, and and I don't take anything away from them, because they were doing was only what they knew to do, but
Hmm.
it's a protection. They were
Yeah.
protecting me. You're the baby, I protect you. I talk for
Right.
you. This is what you're going to do. And it still translates, because me and you talk about this all the time. It still translates till now, where you're almost still attempting to talk for me, whether you realize you're doing it or
Did it
not.
or not. Right.
And
And,
what it is
hmm
that I have learned over the years to just play your position. I played that position for a
Right.
very long time. And then one day I said to myself, in my process of change and being intentional, why I keep doing that? Knowing it's annoying the hell out of me.
Right.
Like, this is annoying me because I want to
Mm.
say something, but now I'm so insecure.
Secure,
Not because
which
and
is a which is a signature trait of fear, right? Because
yes,
that's what kind of like fuels the fear, is your insecurity, because
insecurity.
you want to speak up, and that to me also resonates a little bit as like the danger, right? Because what's the danger in that change? Because again, now I got to look at me, see what
Yes,
role I'm playing, what part
playing.
I'm playing,
Yep.
and then when I step outside of that role, how how is that going to impact the relationships,
Right.
right? And so you talk about in sibling groups, but I think also, just as we also think about being products of families of color,
Yes.
I think as the women, the daughters, right, you're
Right.
kind of groomed, and it's like, be the homemaker, like learn how to do the dishes, learn how to, mop, clean, sweep, cook, all that stuff. And then when you want to do something outside of that, that has
Mhm.
more to do with tapping into your skills, your talents, your passions, it's almost like the family, the community says, like, listen, you better stick to what you've been groomed to do, because at least that, your role, your position, and the outside world knows your role and knows your position. You trying to create a different lane, add some adjectives over here. Nobody don't know about that,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so then I think, and again, to our parents, they worked with what they had, but they don't realize that was that initial fear being
Mhm.
embedded in us, right? Like,
Mhm.
stick to what you know, because if you go out and try this and then you don't succeed, like, you may not recover from it. And it's like, well, whoa, first of all, that's not true, right? I need to try, I need to explore, I need to figure out, where do I fit in this, in the universe and in the world and in my purpose.
Right.
um and how do I do that unless I take chances?
But then you don't understand the taking chances, right?
Right.
Because you become comfortable in playing that position.
Right.
And then now you've isolated yourself, because I can
Oh
easily say,
yeah.
oh, sibling groups, oh,
Yeah.
family,
Mm.
right? Or in a
Right.
larger sense, hey, family, you've
Mm-hmm.
placed me here. This is your fault. No, it's not. It's
Right.
not their fault. It's my fault for not finding ways to positively assert myself. And you don't
Mm-hmm.
always have to snap back. It's not about a snap back or a clap
Right.
back. And I had to learn that in little ways, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
had, moments. I mean, how quick to snap. Oh, shit. And then, but
Let's
then
snap back, gang.
I'm still like in a space of trying to be like, but respectful. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then I get so frustrated. And it's like, it's not anyone else's fault.
Fault. Right.
It's I had to come to an understanding, and this is the same thing in a general sense for anybody, coming to the understanding of the very thing in which you're fearing. You
Right.
know, I isolated myself in playing this role that I felt then I couldn't step out of it,
Yeah.
um, because I thought, just me talking to me, I ain't talking to nobody else, me talking to me. I thought that I wasn't gonna be able to be my true self or be
Right.
able to step out of that role and be accepted, even
Hmm.
amongst family. And it's like there's ways that we trap ourselves.
Yeah.
So in this time when we're talking about being intentional in areas of your life, be intentional and not being fearful. Be intentional about not
Hmm.
isolating yourself. Be intentional with being honest with yourself.
Yourself. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like,
And embracing the
embrace.
challenges of life, embracing the challenge. And again, going back to the definition of fear again, like it's an emotion that, leads you to believe that something or someone is dangerous, right? And
Mhm.
so when I was kind of like um meditating on that thought and kind of in preparing for tonight, I thought about that, from a couple different angles. But one that I think resonated with me the most was like the dangerous person that I think I'm most fearful of is myself.
It
When I
didn't come,
think about it,
but
I was like, yeah, like, girl, you scared of that you can actually manifest the things that you think in your mind, right? Like, because like I'm by myself, like when I'm by myself and I'm just with me and I'm saying like, oh, I want to conquer this and I want to conquer that and I want to do this and I want to do that. I'm like, wait a minute, I could be, listen, I have seen myself on the news.
yeah,
I've been honored in the White
man,
House. Like,
you've been on get TV shows. Like you
yeah,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right. But I'm just saying, like, even in my vision of my
yeah.
dreams and tapping into my talent, and I'm like, wait a minute, ain't nobody gonna honor me. I ain't gonna get like just as fast as I can have that thought, just as
Mm.
fast as that fear kicks in. Like Stacey, you don't even believe like you're not good enough for that. Like you be acting ghetto sometimes. You gotta dance before you do everything and go to the bathroom. Like it's just a lot. And my husband says I dance too much when I eat. I dance too much when I'm happy. I just get all over the place. So it's just like, and I'm like, oh my God, like I feel so passionate about stuff, but if I show up as my authentic self, are people going to accept that, girl? Are they going to take me for what I am and respect
But the
the
world shows you.
material?
But you
Right.
see how, but that self-talk,
Yeah.
damaging. That negative
And
self.
that fear that somebody, and I think one of the other things that we're going to cover over these 120 days is one of the topics that also resonates for me is imposter syndrome, right? That's a big
Yes.
part of fear too,
Yeah.
where like society, like you create in your mind that you're not good enough to be in the spaces that you are in. Like,
Good.
how dare you have a goal? And I go back to this because I remember being in high school, a little throwback on us. I remember being in high school and traveling to Virginia at that time with the person I
Mm.
was dating. And I was like, these Negroes is working at McDonald's, but look at like they was, and I didn't know this at the time, but they were renting like a townhouse. And I was like, dang, like they working at McDonald's, right? And they got like this beautiful townhouse in Virginia, right? And I remember, I know you remember this, like I was always like, I'm gonna move to Virginia, I'm gonna move to Virginia, I'm gonna
Mhm.
move to
Remember
Virginia.
that?
But
Linger.
getting older, right, and having experiences in life and all this stuff happens, and it was like, girl, you can't leave New York and leave your friends, leave your family, leave everybody behind to go get in no townhouse. You ain't never gonna be able to afford that. And everybody that knows me always know my goal in life was to get the hell out of New York. But once I just determined, like, I'm gonna just try it. And guess what? If it doesn't work, I know where I can go back to. I know New
Right.
York like I know my name in the back of my hand.
Right.
But I'm gonna just try, right? And so it's not Virginia, it's Delaware. But I tried it. I
Right.
conquered that fear. I faced it, And now I'm like, oh, I would never move back to New York. I don't give a damn what they giving out. I'm never going back. Right. But it's those moments where you know that your dreams or they feel so big
Mhm.
that you have so much doubt in just your ability to accomplish it, you get stopped. Before you even try, you stop. And
And
that's
it's
all fear.
it is nothing but. So let's move on with that.
Mm-hmm.
With how does fear show up when deciding to make changes in our lives? And I think we kind of, in little ways, we cover that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You talk about that
Oh,
negative
I'm gonna
self.
tell negative self-talk. It
Okay.
shows up with unsupported family. It shows
Okay.
up with, well, how you gonna take on this when you already got that going on? And then what about me? And what about us? And what about this? And what about that? Right? And it's like, dang, I just really want to invest in me, but I let the outside keep talking to me. But really, that's my fear because that's my excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I can say, well, I didn't really live up to my potential. I didn't tap into my dream because my family needed me at that time, and it wasn't the right time for me. But all the while, I was scared. So I think,
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about how does it show up, again, going back to what the point you've been driving home since day one, you got to be honest with yourself, right? Like I have, again, in transparency, I've never done anything that remotely close to this, right? Like even, I mean, I do telehealth therapy, but this still feels very different, right? So there was just an underlying fear here, but we're only in day 4. But as we move forward, I'm like, yo, I could see myself, like I could see myself in some way in some kind of like broadcasting. Like I could just see where my skills and talents are relevant in this world, right? But I had a fear, like, oh my God, what I'm gonna look like on the camera? What I'm gonna sound? I think I sound like a mom.
All the
I'm
time
a
looking like
struggle
boss.
with sounding like a mom. So it's like I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna sound like a man. If I don't get that makeup pattern right, I'm gonna look like a crazy person. And sometimes these locks, they be acting real frizzy. So but so if I would have allowed all of that
Right.
to just be the only thing that resonate, I would have been like, girl, we're gonna just do me with no video, right? Because of my fear, fear of feedback, fear of, oh, you didn't sound so great. Oh, da, da, da. But you know what? I'm learning to embrace that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I know how fear shows up for me too is criticism.
Yes.
I don't like
For
nobody
most of
critiquing nothing about me. Right.
Well, that's cultural, I think. And I
Yes.
think part of that is we grow up in families, especially if you come from large families, you come from sibling based families, you come from, just us, we know black folk sometimes.
Yes.
We don't know what to say. You know
Say
what I mean? Instead of saying
right.
nothing, we feel the need
We
to always
always
have.
highlight the negative in what someone else is doing, right? Because again,
Mhm.
back to that, you gotta dim somebody else's light in order for your light to shine. And I
Right,
had to face that fear that Stacey, you're gonna get feedback, right?
right,
And you have
right.
to keep that in perspective and you have to take what's needed and leave the rest on the table. And it's okay.
I like that you said that. Take what's needed and leave the rest on the table. One
Yeah.
thing, Abba, always tells me, he told me in the beginning, um, in this journey, he was like, I was like, Abba, I don't always like certain things. And he was
Right.
like, daughter, he's like, sometimes, he said, you don't come for the whole cow. You know what I'm saying? You get the milk, you get the nourishment that you need, and you leave the
The
rest.
rest. That's it.
That's also an example. And for whatever reason, I carry that with everything. Like it was like a light bulb went off that day. Like,
Mm-hmm.
right, I don't need the whole cow. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Because
Like
everything ain't for everybody, honey.
everything
And
is not
sometimes you
for
got to take what you need and leave the rest
and
on the
leave the
table.
rest. And understand where you are in that too, right?
Yep.
That's us still being present in our journey, right? And I think even with us doing this, right, what I'm learning, what's been coming a lot to me, even in us in day 4, is presence, present,
Yes.
being present, being
Being
present, being
present.
present. It truly is a gift. When you're in the moment with yourself, regardless of what's going on in your journey, right? Because we're going to have highs and we're going to have lows, right? But be even present in your low. But in that,
Yes.
what are you drawing away from?
Mm-hmm.
Now, my philosophy, and anybody who's ever watched this before on the Sheikh Hayil, I'm good about this. I don't take L's. Like, I'm not a loser.
Right.
I
I
learn
take
lessons.
lessons.
I learn
Word.
lessons. I'm not a loser, so I don't take L's in that way. And I have a very competitive spirit, so I learn
And
lessons.
it's so funny because I feel like I don't have a competitive spirit. I
Mhm.
have a retreat spirit at times, right? Like if everybody's competing, I'm like, you know what? Let me just take myself out the race so this way I ain't got to deal with the loss, the win, like nothing. Fear,
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 fear.
right?
Yeah,
Because why am I not trusting my ability? Why am I not trusting my skill set? Why am I
giving
not
your
trusting
baby.
myself
You're not
to
even
show
coming
up
to the
great?
you're not even
I'm not
showing
even
up to the
coming up.
race.
I'm not
You're
showing
not
up
showing up to the race. How
out
many
of
times have
fear.
we done that though in our life,
Yep,
right?
out of
We haven't
fear,
even.
just out
I've
of fear.
I've said I've done that too. I've not shown up to the race. I won't even put
Missed
myself in the running.
opportunities
Miss,
out of
and
fear.
then it's like then you're watching other people prosper,
And
right?
you like, yo, I know I could have did that.
So why didn't you do that? Who told you you couldn't?
I
Who
told
told you
myself.
you couldn't? You
I
told
told
yourself.
myself.
No one else, and that's the thing. That self talk. That's a dangerous sucker, yeah. But it can
Hmm.
be your biggest if you tune in right with self.
Be your biggest motivator.
It'd be your biggest motivator because oftentimes I so my sister like she tell you she danced for everything, right?
Oh, everything,
But
especially a
to
good
me,
meal.
that food here, dancing to that.
Word, word.
But even in that, that's your way of being present in a moment. To
Hmm.
be happy in this in your space. And when someone criticizes that for you, it
Yes,
makes you ultimately feel like I don't have a right
right. To
to
be happy in that.
be and in this space for myself. And it's like, nah, that's what you do to motivate yourself.
Right.
So
Exactly.
if a boxer or someone who is a basketball player or something, they listen to that music and you be seeing them, they be
Yeah.
in that groove,
Getting
they
their
gotta
head in
get
the game.
themselves
Getting ready.
in the game. That's your way of getting your head in the game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So then now the challenge is also for you. Don't let anybody tell you that space that you in. Like I tell you all the time, you like, I'm like, oh, perfect example. I love this. I love saying this because it's so funny.
Oh God. I'm so nervous.
We'll be in
I'm nervous,
stores.
y'all.
We'll be in stores, Dollar General, Dollar Tree, whatever, Dollar General. And because sometimes on our walks afterwards, we go to Dollar General. Listen,
Yeah,
moment,
funny. Gotta
side
take a
note.
little shopping after we burning
My
calories.
sister don't need nobody around. I'm usually like somewhere else behind her. She looking for stuff and she in the aisle. She dancing.
Just the
She like, yeah,
hey,
look for the
hey.
paper towels.
So I
Paper
know
towels.
it's just
And I looked at her, I said, really? And I stopped and I'm like, you're just dancing. She was like, yeah. I said, what did you say? You was like,
I don't even girl
I don't
bye.
know what you said to me. And I was like, I just give you the space to be you.
Oh, you was like, go ahead. You was like, you dancing. I was like, yeah, that's just me. And you was like, go ahead, be you. And I just turned around and I was like, thank you for always letting me be me.
Yes, that's what it was. I was like,
Yes, like,
you're welcome.
and I think that's the place, right? Like when you talk about having accountability partners, having support systems, right? You got to be honest with you. You got to show up honest, and you got to know that the people in your life are going to allow you to be you. And so, in that, you can be great,
Yeah. So get you
and
people that can do that for you.
right, get you some Tamaras in your life because she lets me dance at the Dollar General
At the Dollar
while
General.
we shop for candles and whatnot,
Right, exactly.
and tell the people how to run they stuff.
But in that, then we just if you don't have because there's so many things around you that will be
Hmm.
negative or feed
Yeah.
that level of negativity that you already probably have for yourself. Get you an accountability partner that, or get you a positive partner. Hello. Get you somebody, your best friend, and you know I'm talking to sisters anyway. Get
Yep.
you your best friend, your sister friend, your sister, your cousin, whoever she is, right?
Yeah.
And get that person that's going to cheer you on no matter what it is. But that's also going to be honest with you, but in a healthy way. You know what I'm saying? I never will let those that I love, truly love, just fall to the wayside.
Right.
I check the hell out of you for sure. But it's always with the understanding that because I want you to be great. I don't want you to be anything less than. So, like, why you, we had a conversation the other morning, and I'll let you be transparent if you want to about the actual topic. But what you said threw me off that I had to lean over, and I was like, what?
Which thing
Girl,
was that?
you are living
So
your best.
many of those moments. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was like,
So
are you living your best life? You are
yeah.
winning right now. You are winning right now. Like I couldn't, like in my mind, but then I paused because I also let my sister have her moment, you know what I'm saying? And her being honest in the space that she was in. But I had to tell her, like, girl, bye, you was winning.
Yeah,
Like,
because again, it's fear, right? Like I set out, not like right. You said like transparency. Like I set out and
right.
I have these goals and I have these dreams, and in my mind, I have the way that I feel like things need to go and things to be in order to kind of determine what success is. And that I remember that particular morning. I think that was the last morning we got to walk before COVID took over.
Yeah, word. You know, you see me
And
sweating
it
now.
was just that was a morning of defeat. And I woke up feeling defeated. The boy was working my nerves.
The
Marriage
churn.
was working my nerves. And I was like, I just felt defeated. Felt like, yo, like what is happening? Like I felt like I set us up. I set our family up for like greatness. And then life was life and all these things was happening and everything was coming at me. And I was like, you know what? I'm just defeated. Like this ain't even popping. And you're right. Like you was like, what? You tripping. Like pause the walking because you are tripping right now. Like, and let me highlight areas where things are going great and you are winning. And what I appreciate about that, and I think, you know, for you and I, because we have such organic moments, that I probably didn't say it in that moment.
Mhm.
But the one that I appreciated in that moment is also that you don't allow me to stay in my fear. You don't allow to kind of just like just keep beating myself. But like you said, you'll give me that space to do that. But you hear all the things I'm not saying and be like, okay, well, you're focusing on a lot of this negative, but here are all these positives that you just leaving out for whatever reason, right? So
Mhm.
then again, brings me back to perspective, helps me get my emotions in alignment with what I'm trying to do. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, we had that moment. Let's do finish our walking. And then I was able to walk away and then come back and be like, nah, I'm still a bad and them people
Get
better
on
get it
my
together and I'm gonna still go out here and be great and they don't wanna get beat when I got home. That's how that was gonna work. But
That's
that's
how
neither
that.
here nor there. Right. So but it was. And now that I think about it, was that my fear? Like I'm gonna keep going back to that. Like, is that how fear shows up for me? Like creating this hysteria of oh my God. Right. So
Possible.
this way I don't have to push myself forward. I don't have to keep going. Because the little things that I've established that I feel like, oh, Stacey, you did great at that. Like it's the small things, right? But it's not on
Mhm.
a bigger scale. So no,
No.
so I don't have to, live up to it all the time. And so excuse me, being in a space of being challenged, it's like,
Mm.
okay, are you being fearful? And so you are creating a
Mm.
barrier?
Because it happens.
Right. And that's, and again, being intentional, once we decided to be intentional, it's like, I'm not going to let you fall. You're not going to let me fall. And we're not going to let each other use those fears to hold us back. We're going to propel. Like that's
Yes.
just, it's only up. So, yeah,
So,
so I appreciate that.
well, you're welcome, sissy. That's what we're here for. So, with that,
Absolutely.
how do we begin to confront or manage our fears? I'm going to step away from 1 second, but you can go into that real quick.
Got you. Got you. So I think how we confront and manage our fears, I don't know. I guess for me, it's just being honest, starting right from the beginning, right? Like being honest. What am I fearful of? What am I afraid is going to happen? And I think, again, in transparency, is understanding that if I start this, am I going to finish it? Okay, sorry guys, it was a little technical difficulty, but just going back to like how do we confront and manage our fears? I think for me, again, it's about being honest, really thinking about what am I afraid of is going to happen. Again, accountability for myself, right? Like, am I afraid of succeeding or am I afraid of letting myself down? Am I afraid that I'm
Mhm.
not going to rise to the occasion? So for me, when I think about how do I confront and manage my fears, I just try to keep as many things in perspective as possible, right? So, like I said, for me, I fear being on the camera. I fear how I sound. So I have to joke about it. Like me and Sissy gotta laugh about it and joke about it. Um, and I gotta make sure that if we say we going live at a certain time, that I get that few minutes in front of the mirror. I touch up my makeup, even when we're on kind of prepping, right?
Mhm.
I start with my dancing. Like I just gotta get my nerves out
Yeah.
to manage my fears. But I think the biggest piece is I confront them. I'm honest about it. Like I'm like, sis, okay, I'm nervous. Like, oh my God, like my stomach is hurting. I'm like, I'm logging on in 2 minutes, right? So again, it's like being honest. Um, and then just outside of that, my prayer space.
Yeah.
I ask God to quiet my fears, quiet my mind, and
Um,
allow me to show up great.
mhm. I think that to me can even I like that you kind of said that because I think oftentimes we don't think about the fear itself or how to manage it in the moment, right?
Hmm.
I think it helps when you have people who help you to be accountable sometimes. Because, like you said, like we gave the example, like I can remind you of all these great things. You know what I'm saying? You do the same thing for me, or you help me reflect a lot of times. You
Hmm.
help me to kind of because I'm always giving the answer at the same time. I'm in the midst of a problem. I'm like really bad about that, but I give the answer in the midst of my problem. But you help me to kind of put those things in perspective and you remind me even what I'm saying. So I think that helps. I had on Facebook, it was like, hey Nasika. We someone said yes, which is Nasika, yes, honest to yourself and having a support team helps. Also knowing when to keep it to yourself, then let others know. We have to
That
have
part.
confidence in ourself as well. And
Yes.
I think that's a good point too. Knowing what you can. Sometimes you do tend to, and we have those moments too. Like,
Hmm.
um, we might be going in the midst of something, and we those things we might keep to ourselves because you're
Right.
in trying to figure that out, but you're
Now.
also understanding it, right?
Hmm.
And in reality, and this is just the truth, and I get what she's saying too. There's a trust factor
Absolutely.
when it comes to that a
Absolutely.
lot. Who can I
I
be this
trust.
trust and be this transparent with?
Who
Like
can I be vulnerable enough?
it's
My fears.
vulnerability.
Because we
Mm,
have, going back to family and tradition and just like culture as a people, we have oftentimes used our fears to hurt each other. So when
yeah.
people confide their fears in you, that's often used as a weapon, right? And so why would I share my fear if it's going to be
Mm,
used against me, right? And so if I'm not sharing it and I can't talk about it, how am I confronting it? How am I managing it? So thank you, sister, for that, because that hit
That hit different, isn't it?
that hit a little different.
It's,
You know, that had a little
it's
more in it.
the point. You can't have
Yeah, that was a little
because you
different.
can't because and I think so even in the space that we are in this platform too, is that that's the whole point of trying to build sisterhood too, right?
Yes,
Because we unfortunately have a history of damaging one another,
yes,
of not being able to allow ourselves to be vulnerable to one another,
yep.
knowing that we have similarities in the things that we
We,
go through. It may not be exactly the same, but there's some things that are very similar in what we go
yeah,
through in life. So it's like, why can't we show up for each other in a more compassionate type of
passionate
way?
way. Yep.
You know what I
And
mean?
help our sister embrace her fears and
Yes.
confront them and manage them, right? And with the
Mm,
right level of support and resource, these fears are manageable and then our goals are achievable.
they are. So we got to be honest. That was deep. Thanks for that. Be honest. But we also have to be
Be
organized.
organized. Yes.
Be
So just to
organized.
kind of tie it
Oh,
together, like you need to be organized. Get yourself together, get a planner, get a whiteboard, like
you the
get
queen of
organized.
let me tell y'all about my whiteboards. I'm a queen of whiteboards.
This girl, she honey's
I got
whiteboards.
sticky. I
I
got
got a
big
big
sticker
one.
posts. I have like the big sticker posts. And me because I am visual, like I have to see it. I have to have that constant reminder. So in that in this change, I'm sorry, y'all. The later it gets, the more my body goes through its changes. But
Yes, yes. The
how we
nighttime is not a good
it's
time.
not does not like it. So how we confront and manage our fears a lot of time we talk about being organized. I think it's important to like just goes back to setting out those goals,
Mhm.
prioritizing what our
Mhm.
intentions are, prioritizing the steps we want to take.
Yep.
And even when we're talking about fear, it helps managing your fear. So I had a fear with Nisha Kyle, and there I've had pause moments
Mhm.
um, in this walk in this path. I had moments that I switched gears. I'm in this process switching gears. You know what I'm and really trying to define and outline what is it that what is the intention for all of this. Like I
Yeah.
want women to get together, but then what was coming to me was pay attention to what's around you too. What was
Yeah.
coming to me was a lot of pain from from women, from sisters in general. um Random conversations, different conversation, women on the outside, women in my community.
Mhm.
And I'm just it was what do you call it, a repeat topic or subject that kept coming
It
up.
kept coming up.
And it a lot of it stemmed from fear,
Yeah.
vulnerability,
Mhm.
um looking for purpose,
Yep.
not knowing direction.
Mhm.
It was so many things, and I'm like, we're all in the same space.
Yeah.
Like, can we, what is it that we need to do to kind of reach out to one another, and just for someone to say, hey sister, you're doing the best that you can.
That you can.
Good job, keep going. I'm here
Yep.
to support you, and a lot of times that's just what women needed. So that being organized, when you write these things down, I write out my fears.
Mhm.
But instead of saying I fear this, I say I will do.
This
I
right. I
will
will conquer this. Yep.
I
I'll
will
get over this.
I
Mhm.
put that emphasis, and now that's how I begin to start to manifest what it is that
Mhm.
like how I want it, type of thing. So that's where the organized come in. Do your research.
Yeah.
So when we talk about do
No.
your
No. Right. Yeah. Because sometimes we create a fear in ourselves. Um. Because of lack of information. We just don't have all the information. And so we're afraid of something and we just genuinely didn't have all the information, right? And so we say, oh, we can't accomplish this because you need this and you need that. Prime example, when I came to Delaware, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a private practice, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And then, like I ran into one thing that said, oh, you need this, you need that, you need this. And I was like, oh, well, that's a done deal then because I don't have all that.
mm-hmm.
But, th- thankfully to God, um, I did some more research. kept talking to people, kept getting information, right? And didn't let that one thing deter me, and realized like where there's a will, there literally is a way. And
Yes.
so you might can't start, you don't start at the end of the race, right? You have to start at the beginning. So there's a
Yeah.
process I needed to get into, and I had to get into the process. And I feared, I was like, oh my God, it's gonna be expensive, it's gonna be long, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be that. It was none of that. But
Mhm.
I just didn't know. So now that I did the research and I know what's going on, I'm also grateful because I've got an opportunity to meet some amazing women who've come and been like, oh, Stacey, can you help me do this? And now
Mhm.
I have the information so I can be like, yes, don't trip. Like, you can do it. It's feasible. This is how we get it done.
Perfect. Develop a healthy routine. So going back to prioritizing, right?
Yep.
What does that look like for you? What is it the thing that you want to accomplish? What is the fear that you want to kind of conquer? Part of that is creating habit. So
Yes.
a lot of our fears stems from
Mm-hmm.
we didn't have habits, healthy
Habits.
habits in the first
Habits.
place. So excuse me, create healthy habits that help you to motivate you in the direction in which you want to go. Doesn't take much. Like I told you, I go to Staples, I get a sticky. First of all, I'm a sticky note
A
queen.
sticky note, and that's it.
I
Make
got
it happen.
to make it happen. But get a big one, post a board, get you a
Mm-hmm.
whiteboard, whatever that is. Prioritize, create that space, create a
Yeah.
space, be
And create that place
encouraged,
of like a healthy routine of like actively working on your goal.
actively working.
Actively working on your goal.
But
Actively showing up to do the work.
see it,
That's a
hear it,
healthy routine. Right. Speak it, write it, hear it, sing about it, dance about it. Just show up, be present. Get in a habit of speaking life into your goals and your dreams.
absolutely. And with that, I like how you said embrace the challenge, the process,
Yes.
rather than avoid it. Speak it into existence, embrace it,
Mm-hmm.
love it. You know this is what you want to do. You know that's the direction you want to go to. Accept that and keep it moving, keep it pushing. Don't
Mm-hmm.
be don't allow fear to stop you from your dreams or being your best self
Absolutely.
or the intent in which you
Absolutely.
want to move in. Don't do it. How my favorite. Be okay
Be
with
okay.
comfortable. I am a queen of comfort. Don't
Me
interrupt my
too.
don't interrupt my comfort. I am predictability. Okay? Predictable. I
Yes,
used to
me
be
too.
okay with predictable. And what I realized is I used to hate change. I used to say that. I used to say
Yeah.
that so I hate change. I hate change. I hate change.
Because we
My
don't see
body,
the growth in it.
I don't see the growth. And my body literally goes through like this whole process. Like how I show fear. My fear is not outward. I'm an internal person, internal warrior. And so my body reacts
Mm-hmm.
literally to change. And I had to teach myself how to be okay and accept change. Now, when change comes, I roll with ties. I'm like, okay, that's
Cool.
what was meant to
What's
be.
next?
Okay,
Right.
how is this going to serve me? That's
Yep.
my new thing. So I've learned to be okay with being uncomfortable, and it's still even platforms like this. I get nervous every time. I was telling my sister
Yeah.
every time I get nervous. I go to the bathroom. There's a lot that goes
It's a
on,
lot that
but
happens before we go live.
eye on the prize. I keep the eye
Right.
on the prize. So we're about to wrap this up. Um, but one thing we should. You okay?
The cat is trying to get out, and I was like, what is going on with the door? I'm sorry. She's tripping because she's locked in. She should have left an hour ago. She know what the vibes is.
I still can't stand you. As always, we try to incorporate some level of ourselves, spirituality, into the mix. And so with us tonight, I
You ready
chose
for live? Yeah.
your mic is on.
Oh,
Joshua chapter 1, verses 9. And it reads as follows. Hallelujah. Um, have I not commanded you to be have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Be not afraid, nor be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Amen. So that's like a good way for me, I think, to end. Be strong and of
sure.
good courage and be
Yes,
courageous. Be strong and
absolutely.
courageous. You know,
And
things are
courage and being courageous. I'm sorry, Sissy, but being courageous. When you said that, being courageous, like being courageous is going to be the only thing that's truly going to manage your fear. You just got
yeah.
to have the courage to face it and push through.
And know that God is with you wherever you go.
Amen.
What's for you is going to be for
For
you.
you,
And if it's not, guess what?
it
It's
wasn't
a
for you.
path that's going to be rerouted for you. It's still
Yep.
going to be for you. You know what I mean? It's still going to work for your good. And I think a lot of times we have to put that positivity in the air.
Hmm.
And oh wow, there's a lot going on. Put that positivity in the air. What just happened? And and kind of start to believe it, and that's how you begin to manifest it. So speak those words to
Yep.
yourself. That was Joshua 1:9. You put that on your board. Put that on your
Put that
sticky.
on your board.
You know what
Earth.
I'm saying? Remind yourself, if anything. So we're wrapping up. We thank you for joining us. Um, we are
We'll
who
be back tomorrow for day 5.
we'll be back tomorrow, day 5. This is a good conversation. Usually we don't try to be this long winded, but
But
I think it
tonight
was a
was
good
good.
conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you all for who participated, who had input. Thank
Comments,
you for your
feedback.
input, your
Yeah.
comments, feedback. We love it. Tell your sisters, tell your friends, tell your sister friends, tell your cousins and them.
Yes.
Um,
Tell everybody.
Tell everybody. Yeah, get grandma and them, auntie and them. You know what I'm saying? This stuff
Yeah,
that, we're all in the process of learning. Um, and yeah, like let's
yep,
learn together, let's build together, let's be our best
absolutely.
selves together,
Gather.
right?
Yes.
For ourselves, for each other, for our community, right? And let's show up better than we did the day
The day
before.
before,
That's the challenge. I
that's the
like that.
sisters.
Let's show up better than we
Better
did
than we did the day
before.
before.
All right. So much
Yes.
love to you all. Thank you again for joining us. We will see you. Ain't no hope. We
We
will see
will see you tomorrow.
you. We will see you tomorrow
Yes.
for day
For day
5
5.
of this 120-day journey. We
Yes.
wish you much peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. Have a
Good
good night.
night.
Good night.